Hello, small business growth family. Welcome back to another episode of the Small Business Growth Podcast. I am so glad that you're here. Today's a fun episode that we're going to dive on in, that if your Black Friday plans did not go as you would like them to go, we're going to kind of dive in to what to do now. Is there still time to change something, and what to do instead? So we're going to dive on in to those different stages here. If you are new here, I am your host, Madison Page. I am a business growth specialist, teaching you how to stand out and sell out on social media by building a ride or die community around your brand. Everything we do has a center on community building and what that means for your brand, but we like to learn in a fun conversational type of way. I like to say it's kind of like sipping coffee with a biz bestie. So we're sitting there face to face, having raw and real and genuine conversations. None of this feeling like a talk show kind of episodes. This is us having normal, genuine conversations around business, sharing tactical business growth advice and entrepreneurship lifestyle tips, all of the things. If that's up your alley, make sure that you are subscribed and you follow along. We put out new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. This episode is going to be a fun one. We're going to chat about Black Friday, what that is all about. If it didn't go as planned and you are in need of a little bit of a pep talk, I'm here for you. And this is what we're going to talk about today. If you're not new here, welcome back, girlfriend. So happy to have you. Let's dive on in to Black Friday. Black Friday in everybody's mind is kind of the Super Bowl of the year. I think a lot of people think of it as, okay, Black Friday, what's my Black Friday sales? This is when I can get the majority of my sales in. I got to do all of this work in order to get prepped for Black Friday. I know my clients, we're recording this weeks before Black Friday, and my clients have been absolutely grinding on their Black Friday sales, getting their marketing ready, their emails, and all of the things. I know a lot of them are very excited for them. They're looking forward to it. We've been doing a lot of trainings. My girls inside of PTP got a bonus training for it, and we really dove into Black Friday as a whole. So really diving in to Black Friday. Granted, this year in 2023, Black Friday was a little bit early. It was a little early because Thanksgiving was a little early. So I do think that this was a kind of a unique year, as well as the economy is a little spooky dooky right now. And so I think the holidays in general this year are kind of a weird year. And so just remembering that there are external factors to your business all of the time, but we're going to kind of dive in to what we want to talk about there. First things first, I want to just tell you there is still time. So you're here, you're listening, you're like, Maddie, I'm kind of bummed. I wish my Black Friday sales went better. I thought that I prepared more for this. I thought that this was going to be the year that I finally got X, Y, and Z. Whether your goal was $1,000 in sales, $5,000, $10,000, $100,000, no matter what your goals in sales were for Black Friday, you are a little bummed if you're here right now and you're listening to this. I just want to let you know there's still time to make sales. People are still buying for a bunch of weeks because you do still have a month. Like from Thanksgiving, you have over a month to still sell to people before the holidays. And I want to just tell you that this isn't a personal attack. This is a message that I've been getting a lot, is people being like, Maddie, I'm clearly doing something wrong. Like, what's wrong with me? Is my product not good? Like, why do people not like what I have to offer? And so I want to just say that this doesn't always have to do with your actual product. This doesn't have to do with you. This doesn't have to do with your product. This doesn't mean that your product is too expensive. A lot of times this is an actual just gap in your strategy. There's something that you're missing that people were not there for. Something that you did, it just didn't click. And that doesn't mean that that was you. This doesn't mean that this is a personal attack. This means that we have to figure out where that strategy breakdown was. What were we missing? What were we missing leading up to it? What were we missing during it? Maybe your sale was boring. There's a lot of different things. We're going to dive into some guided questions for you, as well as some mistakes that are commonly made over the holidays and what that really means. And so something that I see a lot, and it's a very easy mental space to be in, but it's also a very toxic mental space to be in, is is taking any failure, quote unquote, if you're not watching on YouTube, failure or anything that doesn't go the way that you really wanted it to go as a personal attack. You're doing something wrong. You're a failure. This is on you. You needed to do better. You just didn't spend enough time on it. And it's really easy to do. I realize that. It's super easy to do, but it doesn't have to be that way. It absolutely does not have to be that way. You absolutely can look at your business and realize it as it's almost like an experiment. I had somebody tell me once to think of your business as a college project. And what that means is if something didn't work in your college project, you wouldn't, like if you were doing a big science project in college, you wouldn't be like, no, oh my gosh, it didn't work. I'm a failure. This is terrible. You would look at it and be like, all right, what do I need to change in order to make it work? Clearly that experiment, whatever we just tried, we got to test something else. And so then you would start over and test something else, and you would implement other things. You would go back to the research, look back at the research and be like, okay, how do we do this? Now, of course, when you do work really hard, when you do dive in, it's really easy to feel like it can be a personal failure, but your business isn't your personal worth. And that's something we need to separate as you do grow your business, is you have to change it. If I have a launch that doesn't do as well as I thought it would, I'm not like, oh gosh, people hate me and my my services don't work, because I know my programs are awesome because the results speak for themselves. I know my podcast is great. Literally right before this, I was scrolling through my podcast reviews and I saw the first negative podcast review. And it wasn't even a negative podcast review. It was saying that I have a business selling my products, which I do. And it's really easy to take those things and take them to heart. But you can also look at it and be like, okay. So it wasn't me being like, oh gosh, they hate me. This was me saying, okay, why would this be so? Is this something objectively that I need to listen to? First of all, is this something that I feel like is a problem? No, because this is part of my business. It's all part of my marketing. I give you guys so much information, but yes, I do definitely still have a business alongside of my podcast. And then so you can look, is this something that I want to listen to? Or is this something that I need to adjust? Is there something here? Why is it that this happened? Why is it that I had this result? And so it can't be a personal attack every time. I just want to put that out there. I know this is kind of a tangent, but thinking of your business as more of an experiment. So looking at your Black Friday sales, it's really different if you went into Black Friday already seeing consistent sales, or if you haven't yet seen consistent sales in your business. If you went into Black Friday already having pretty consistent sales and you just didn't see the uptake that you were looking for, versus if you don't have consistent sales yet and you really don't bring any online sales in and you're still not bringing online sales in, that's probably a marketing and a business foundations issue. Whereas if you just didn't upsell enough, that's probably a sales issue. And so there's different issues that you have to look at, but we're going to go through some guided questions, the major question that I want you to ask and the major mistake that a lot of people make. So when you're looking at this and you want to audit it, instead of saying, okay, I'm terrible, everybody hates me, my product sucks and it's too expensive, I just need to scrap the whole thing. And I know it's hard because at the end of the year, you really want to finish strong. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to do great starting January 1st. I want to ask you some of these guided questions in the same questions that I ask myself when something doesn't go the same way that I wanted it to in business, because that is business. Not everything is going to go the way that you want it to. Some things are going to go way better and some things aren't going to work out as well. So looking at it, did you have a strategy behind your Black Friday sales? And when I say strategy, did you know the what, why, and how behind what you were doing? When I say, instead of you just saying, yeah, I'm going to do a 30% off sale for the whole weekend, did you have a strategy behind it? Did you know why you were doing those things? Did you know what type of buyer you were appealing to? Did you have an overall scientific strategy around what you were doing? If your question was no, we need to look back at that. How many times did you talk about your sale prior to your sale? 90% of sales happen actually before the sale starts, before the launch happens, before you even start selling. So your content leading up to Black Friday is actually more important than the actual Black Friday content. How many times did you talk about Black Friday happening? Did you even talk about your Black Friday happening prior to having a sale? Or did you just think people would expect it? Did you do everything else that everyone else did? Did you just whip up a quick 30% off sale and send out an email and call it good, post on your stories a couple times, the same days that everybody else was posting, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday? You did a couple of little things in there. Did you do everything that everybody else is doing? Because Black Friday is the noisiest day of the year. It is the noisiest sales day of the year. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday are the 4 days out of the year that more people are selling than any other day. And so if you are just only selling on those days or only doing something super basic and not super unique, did you blend into the noise? How many ways did you try to contact your customers? Did you send emails? Do you even have an email list? Did you build up an email list prior to the holidays? So what we're looking at here is, did you have a strategy? Did you talk about Black Friday and tell your audience it was there? And did you tell them in a bunch of different ways because of the noise? Because of how many people are selling, the increase in ad spend, and how many people are sending them stuff on that day? And so we really have to look at that. What did you do? Did you prepare? And the major question here is, did you have a strategy? Did you have a strategy around what you were doing? And really what this comes down to, again, is what did you have prior to coming into this sale? If you already had consistent sales, you had some people buying on your website naturally, when you're launching, you have some sales there, you have a community, you have your same couple of buyers, and you're kind of stuck in that realm. You're there and people are crushing it. And people, you have your 5 to 10 to 10 to 15, whatever, your number, but you have some consistent sales coming in online. If that is you and you thought that you would have a big uptake in sales, that's probably more of a sales problem. That's probably something that you were not really, you just didn't really hit the points that you needed to hit. You didn't really have a strategy. You didn't put enough time and effort. It wasn't unique enough. But of course, these are objective. And then when we look, maybe you didn't have consistent sales yet. If you are somebody that does not have yet consistent sales, just because more people are shopping for things doesn't mean more people will buy from things, because your marketing is still the breakdown. If you aren't yet to consistent sales, this is a marketing breakdown. We need to figure out where in your marketing, where in your sales process, there's a major breakdown to get people to fall off. This doesn't always mean you need to change your content. This might mean your website, there's a breakdown. This might mean your product just doesn't make sense, or your messaging is a little off, or you're missing something. There is a checklist of things that you need in order to get to consistent sales. Sometimes you just don't have that quite yet. And so if you aren't there yet, it doesn't surprise me that you're bummed with your Black Friday, because just because you have more eyes doesn't mean more sales. Just because there's more people searching doesn't fix bad marketing. And so we have to look at that. Did you already have consistent sales or not? Did you have a strategy, or or were you doing everything that everybody else was doing? So we really have to look at what did you do and where was that major breakdown in your strategy. But really the major question is from now on. So you weren't happy with it. We're auditing it. We're looking at it. But what are you going to change? And this is really where it comes down to. Now it's almost December. You're here, you're listening, and of course there's still time. But just because you don't get sales right now doesn't mean you're never going to get sales. It means people still sell in January, February, March, April, May. You can still make sales into the future. What are you going to change in order to make the sales that you're trying to get? Because when something doesn't work, it's a strategy breakdown. It's not a you breakdown. A lot of times it's a strategy breakdown and what we need to adapt and what we need to change. So I've been where you are. If you haven't listened to my episode, a couple of episodes back, I talked about my $30,000 of sales in 6 weeks. If you haven't listened to this is part of my story, how I got to where I am. I made 0 sales one holiday season when I started my blog. I had a sustainability blog. I thought it was going to be my make or break year. I'm speaking from experience here, people, okay? I thought this was going to be my make or break year. I was like, finally, I'm going to start making some killer sales. I'm excited about it. Nobody bought, nobody cared. I was down in the dumps right now, where you are. I've been where you are. And so what I did is I said, what am I going to change in order to make this different? What am I going to change? It's all in how you adapt, what you learn, and what you know is necessary in order to get there. It is all on what you know you need to do in order to get there. How I went from 0 sales to $30,000 in sales in 6 weeks, literally the next year, was I learned a ton of strategy. I really figured out how business works, how social media works, why people buy, and I dove into it and I figured it out. And that was how I went from $0 to $30,000 worth of sales from year over year. And of course, other people bought throughout this year, but from year over year, I remember being like, oh my gosh. And again, out of transparency, these were not my products. I was a sustainability blog, so I was selling other products. I just like to be super transparent in what I was doing because I think it's helpful for you as well. But I looked and I was like, okay, look at how much I have changed from A to B. Look at how much I changed here. And so the major thing that I changed, you can go and listen to that episode, and I really looked at that, but I really got gritty with learning the strategy behind what I was doing wrong. Even then, I knew this wasn't a personal attack. I took it as a little bit of a personal attack, but it doesn't have to be. It's really not. It is just something in your mix of what is going on behind it. And so I want to talk about some major mistakes in marketing, in people that come into my world that I am now talking to, and what a lot of times means that major mistakes on social that probably was the root cause of some Black Friday issues. First things first, there are so many people selling this time of year, so I want you to just normalize that there are so many people selling, but there are a lot of people buying as well. So from top to bottom, first things first, your content might be outdated. Your content might just be a little outdated, and we need to really figure out what the problem is there. If your content is outdated, what the content that has been popular in 2019, 2020, 2021, even 2022, like, is not popular anymore. Dancing on Reels is over. We're like behind the scenes only making process videos is over. People begging for likes and views and shares for your small business is holding you back. And so if your content is outdated, and there's a lot of content that is working right now, and there's content that's not. The content that's working is new, fresh content. We need to get out of the outdated content that you're probably already focusing on, and we need to create new and fresh content. And if you're wanting to figure out what all of those outdated content topics are, you can click the link in the show notes. I actually just created a free training all about outdated content because this is a topic I am passionate about, because your audios that are out there saying, I know I'm a small business owner, but I need you to like and share and comment because my business is failing. It might get you some views, but it's not building any communities around you begging for charity around your business. Or the content of you saying, like, I hate posting content, but here's a good piece. Or of you just posting the behind the scenes of you making your product. Or all of your products, all of your content is of your product in its packaging. Like, nobody cares about that content anymore. That content might have worked in 2019, 2020. Even before then, you used to be able to just post and Reels would get a lot of traction and it would work for you, but it's not really the case anymore. So if you're feeling like I just called you out slightly, if I just called you out a little bit, click the link in the show notes. You can download my completely free training all about outdated content. And we're going to talk about kind of what the outdated content is, and going into 2024, what we need to change, and what the content is that I feel is going to be really, really important. Next is that you did everything like everyone else. You probably sent one email, you posted on your Instagram stories a couple times, you did like 30% off, or maybe buy one, get one, or some free shipping. You might have mixed it up Friday, Saturday, Monday, just like some slight little things, but you didn't get unique or creative with it. You had some kind of boring sales. It didn't pack the punch that it was supposed to. That is definitely something that is a major mistake in Black Friday. If you were a part of my holiday masterclass, this was the biggest piece of my holiday masterclass. Was literally, if you took nothing else away from the masterclass, was don't do everything like everybody else. You have to be different in order to stand out this time of year. Next was you were afraid to sell. This is the time of year that you are able to sell. You're able to hard push. Even from now on into the future until you get to Christmas, this is your permission slip to hard sell. Now, this doesn't mean that I want you to stop selling altogether. This doesn't mean that I want you to stop posting any other content then selling content. This means that I want you to look at, really have a strategy around your selling. Sell consistently, sell every couple of days, have some other incentives. If you were afraid to sell over Black Friday, you need to sell stronger now. If you don't know what is necessary in order to sell either, If I were to ask you right now, what do you need to do? What is a good sales strategy process? What do you need to do in order to get somebody to buy from you? If you don't know the answer to that, you need to. That is what a strategy is. If you ask me, what do I need to do in order to sell anything? Like, just like the pen example. This is an expo marker, but if you're watching on YouTube, is you've heard the thing, sell me this pen. Sell me this pen, tell me all about it. What does it take for somebody to buy something? What does it take? If you can't answer that question, that means you don't understand strategy. That means you don't actually understand what it takes to get people from interested in your project to take your product to taking action. So you do need to know what that is. It is necessary to have strategy in your business. If there is no beating around that bush, I used to be like, blah, blah, blah. No, it's necessary. If you don't have a strategy, your audience is going to be confused. They're not actually going to take action, and you're leaving money on the table. Last but not least, your major mistake before the holidays is that you didn't nurture for a long enough time period before the holidays. So if you don't know, in order to get somebody to buy, like we were just talking about, you need to grow your audience, you need to nurture your audience, and then you need to sell to your audience at a very basic level. You need to get them aware of it, you need to get them interested in it, and then you need to get them to take action. And so if you did not nurture your audience prior to the holidays enough, you just have a bunch of cold leads. Or you've oversold to a bunch of cold leads and people are not yet ready to buy. When you nurture, you make them ready to buy. And so if you didn't nurture your audience for long enough, you're selling to people that aren't ready to buy. You're basically the shark at the mall that's chasing after you down the hallway, trying to sell you extended warranties, whatever, but that is what you're doing when you don't nurture your audience. You do need to make your audience ready to buy from you. And so if you didn't see a lot of sales, it means that you didn't nurture your audience long enough prior to the holidays. Now, this is not a comprehensive list. This doesn't mean that any or all of these things did happen for you, but there's some things to look at and some things to question a little bit. Are these things that I did? Do I know a strategy? Were my sales boring? Did I nurture my audience at all? Do I even know what it means to actually try to sell to somebody? It's now all about what you do now moving forward. Now, I might have just kind of called you out and you're feeling even worse than when you started listening to this podcast and you're like, Maddie, I thought I was going to come here for a little bit of a pep talk. And now you kind of just made fun of me for a long time. And now I'm realizing this is more my fault. First of all, stop yourself in that thought process. This is not a you thing. This is just a strategy you've never learned. You wouldn't try to join a band without knowing how to play an instrument. Why are you doing this in your business? You were trying to have a business without knowing how to build a business. It's the same thing. You wouldn't join a band without playing an instrument. You shouldn't try to build a business without understanding the strategy and having the skill behind it. This is nothing about you. This is just about, you don't know what you don't know. And so now you're looking at this and it's all about what you do moving forward. It's all about from now on. You can still make sales. You can still make sales until the end of the year. So you need to adjust your strategy a little bit, adjust the content you're putting out there and what that really looks like. And you need a strategy. You need a strategy behind what you're doing. Take this as your sign that, especially if you weren't even yet to consistent sales by Black Friday, that the reason is because there's a major breakdown in your strategy and you just don't have a check off on your list of strategy. Okay. And so you need to understand the what, why, and how of business in order for it to really make sense, because you need to understand how people work. You need to understand why people buy. You need to understand some of those pieces. You can take it from me. I literally went from 0 sales to $30,000 in sales the next year, not the next year, but in the next holiday season. And this was the major thing that I did. I got serious about understanding how business worked. I was in college. Getting 2 business degrees. I was a freshman. So I was taking stats and bio before all my fancy business classes, but I was still learning business. And I had been running a business already because I ran my family's business at 17. I had already been running businesses. So I was like, why was this not working for me? I know that I should be able to do this, but I didn't grow an online business. Very different from a resort to building an online business. And so take it from me. I've been where you are. I've been disappointed with where my Black Friday sales went. I made the gift guides. I did the thing and I just couldn't understand it. Why was it not working? What I changed is I learned how to sell. I learned how social media worked. I learned the content that worked, and really most of everything behind it is content. If you can master your content, you can master your sales. And again, you wouldn't join a band without knowing how to play an instrument. So why are you doing that in your business? So I have two different options here for you. If you want consistent sales starting after the new year, you need to learn how from top to bottom. If you want to get consistent sales, you're like, Maddie, this is my year. This is the year that I'm doing it. I really want to dive on in. Starting January 15th, we are doing my signature program, Product to Profit. This gets you, we work together, you and I, me and you and I, and a couple of other people are working together in order to build your dream business, ride or die community, and bringing in online consistent sales. This is a awesome program that has helped dozens of people quit their 9-to-5. It's working really closely with me. You get private messaging with me. You get one-on-one calls with me. There's group calls. There's private modules and things like that. It's a full program. I like to say it's a full business glow up. Basically fast tracking you to consistent sales and a ride or die community. This is working very directly with me. If you're just like, Maddie, I know my content needs help and I have no idea what to post ever, and I know that's my problem, my course that's called the Breakthrough Content Lab is an online course. It's set up to finish in 9 days. There's 20 trainings in it. That means that you can literally binge it there's I forget how many hours. I think it's 7 to 8 hours of trainings. You can binge it in one day if you want to. Start implementing that content, and the average person sees an increase in sales in 3 weeks. But that means that you can still see a change this year. This means if you implement this immediately, people will see your changes. You will find some of these gaps. If you want to do that, you can click the link in the show notes as well. It's a completely passive course. It's on your own time. It is it's pre-recorded trainings. There's a workbook inside. It's an incredible program. And so if you're looking to work with me after the new year to really go all in, Product to Profit is the option for you. If you are just looking for if you're looking for social media support, then the Breakthrough Content Lab is for you. I'll put the link below. Go ahead and check it out. I'm here for you. If you really are feeling discouraged, what you need to do is learn how and find the major gap in your business. Now, if you are in the other realm where you already had consistent sales and you just didn't get the uptake in business that you were looking for, and you're like, what is going on? Why is my business declining? Come on over to Instagram and you can come and hang out with me in my DMs at This Is Madison page. Send me a DM and we can talk about scaling. I do have scaling programs. We can talk about, I have VIP weeks. I got a lot of options. Or we can just chat and see what's going on, and we can kind of audit your program there. So I love it when you guys come and hang out over on Instagram at This Is Madison page, but realize there is time for you. The year is not over. You still have a month of the holiday season, as well as this is not a personal attack. There's a lot of things that you can change. There's a lot of things that are there, but this isn't something that you personally are doing wrong. It's just something you don't know how to do yet, and that is a wonderful thing. So there's a lot to be had. There's a lot of growth to be had in the future, and I can't wait to support you through that. I hope that this was at least helpful for you to kind of point out and bring you through a guided exercise of what that really looks like. I am very excited to see where you go from here and see the growth from here. Come hang out with me on Instagram at This Is Madison page. Subscribe to the podcast, either if you're on Spotify, if you're on Apple. We have transitioned over to YouTube as well, so we can chat face to face. So make sure that you are subscribed on YouTube as well. And when you subscribe, it helps you get more aligned podcast episodes and recommendations for you, as well as it helps me get this podcast out to more struggling business owners that need help and that need the support. So thank you. I love you guys. I'm so happy that you're here. This podcast has grown so much this year. I'm kind of in my feels at the growth of this business, of the podcast, and everything this year. I'm going to make a podcast all about it because I want to kind of open the curtains behind the closed doors of the growth that we've seen and some of the things that I see were the reason for that. So thank you. I appreciate you. I am wishing you all of the luck at the end of the year. I love you. I'm rooting for you, and I'm in your corner always.